We ready? All right. It was good to get outside. I'm glad you all were here today and got to see, all the practice and got some footage. You could tell there's quite a few new guys out here. As I told the team, there's plenty of work to be done. But I believe the last time I talked to you was last Saturday, and I felt good about their attitude, their work ethic, and just the process of getting better and putting in the work. And I feel the same way. Hopefully you guys saw that today. I like this team. There's a lot of work to be done, but everybody's putting their head down, working and getting better, and that I can appreciate. So worked out well, and again, glad you guys are here. Fire whip.
Obviously played center for you guys a couple of years ago, and you were back at center today. What are your
Yeah, we have a lot of combinations. We want to make sure we can be adaptable, flexible, and have guys play multiple positions. We got some guys that are, left tackles that are playing right. We have some guys that could swing. We feel good about our depth. Much better about our depth. And Evan was a little banged up for a little while early in spring, and so we're just making sure we got all our bases covered.
That interior, the guard center guard, do you feel like that can be a real strength, especially in the run game?
Yeah, I do. I think we have some returning guys and we have some additions, and that's always good. That was one thing from last year. We had some interior guys that were good players and have some snaps, have some experience, and so it's good to bring those guys back and base and build out from there. And you could see the additions from tackle that we're in better position, and Malachi's a year older and doing really well, so feel much better about it.
But you guys had, speaking of that run game, had a couple different guys run with the ones at different times in different packages. What do you feel about that running back room right now? And is it going to be kind of by committee, or is it just trying different dudes at different times?
It's definitely going to be by committee. That position, as you know, they take a lot of hits. It's very physical. We have some guys that are better suited for certain situations, and we're going to need them all.
Patterson was a guy who really did flash at the beginning of the year before his injury. How have you seen him grow as a player?
Yeah, I've seen him take some steps even in the last 2-3 practices, and so it's good to see him back out here, see him healthy, getting the reps, and I like seeing him out here because he's a guy that can be an every down back doing some good things.
Mark, what presence has Zach brought to this group already, and have you seen growth from Cutter as well, just in the
Yeah, without a doubt. I have to give you guys some content, and so I'm getting, I'm talking about some guys. You watch practice, so I have to comment on that. But in general, I appreciate that as the group. The group is growing. Zach brings in a guy that's played 6 years. He's played. This is 6-year college football. So anytime you get that type of experience, we've seen snaps, we've seen him playing. And now it's a matter of getting comfortable in our system, putting it all together. Through spring, there's some things that look sloppy, that look ugly at times. Then we got to just pull it all together. And so both guys have made a lot of growth. Cutter's getting better as well. You could see both guys have very live arms, and so that's a good thing. There's a lot to build on.
Mark, what have you seen from the pass protection?
Better. I think if you watch practice today, just when we practice the structure of it at times, you saw today's segment where that was complete run, old school middle drill, like everybody knows we're running the football and we're running the ball. And then we do some where it's all pass, and then we do blitz where it's a combo. And so again, I think today when you saw the team period and you put it all together where you could keep a defense off balance with the run and with the play action, we were very effective. And just I feel like there's most definitely improvement, and there sure better be, right? I mean, there better be. So there's some improvement, and I feel like there's good depth, and so I'm encouraged.
Mark, Law looked like he flashed some today at
Yeah.
wide receiver. Has he been doing that?
Yeah, that's one of the plays I'm talking about. First play of team there, the play action and getting the ball down the field, creating an explosive. And Kendrick is a very strong young man. He's explosive. He's strong. So when we get the ball to him in a play like that, he could create.
Are him and Macklin interchangeable with inside out?
They are, but J Mac played really good outside last year. Towards the end of the year. As once we started finding him and getting the ball down the field to him, he's a guy that makes tough contested catches. He was really productive, the last 3 games of the year or so. So he's a guy that's interchangeable, but we want to play him. We want to move him around, get him the football.
How have you noticed the connection between the wide receiver and the quarterback?
Yeah, there's no problem there. Both Cutter, they all have good rapport with each other. Zach and Cutter and Bo and the wide receivers, they've made it a point of emphasis. Our team has made it a point of emphasis to be close, to be united, to spend time with each other. There's no issues there. What were we gonna say?
We were talking about the defensive line, and you had the same group for so long. It was just kind of weird seeing all the new numbers out there. How has that group kind of come along, and do they give you different skill sets to do different things?
They do. I think it's the first thing about that group is I feel like they're playing really hard. They're fundamentally really taking the coaching. They play really hard. They give great effort. We have some guys that inside that'll be a little different. That maybe. We still have good length and size across the board, in certain positions, but then there's other guys that maybe don't have the length, but they create, inside and have some wiggle and really just play with great passion and energy and have that ability to create negative plays. And then I think, we all know that we needed to improve on the edge as well and get some pass rushers in here. And so, across the board, again, as a group, I like them. I like the depth. We need to stay healthy. As you know, this time last year, I lost 2 D linemen for the entire year. And so we could go out here and bang heads all day, and you're not going to get better when you lose two starters, at the D line. So we're staying healthy, but we're still able to practice as physical as you saw today.
Mark, I think DJ Miller maybe had the catch of the day over there on the sideline.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's just a freshman. He's learning right now, but what do you envision from him when he does?
Yeah, he's just a guy that just has to put it all together. He's just one of those guys that he operates really smooth. I'd like to see a little more urgency out of him at times, but he is definitely a great young man and just, works really hard and again, likes the coaching. He buys into everything. When we give him opportunities like that, he can make some plays. And so just let him grow up, let him continue to get better. Good
Mark,
player.
in one group, it does seem like you have continuity as the defensive backfield, a lot of guys back.
Yeah.
Just how beneficial is it to have continuity there, and what have you seen from
Yeah,
those guys?
it is. And I think, those guys, because they've been together, there's some continuity, there's some good players. They have a lot of reps under their belt. And so, they're kind of a lot of guys that are, taking charge of the whole, defense right now. But I like those guys. I think we're getting better. We're getting back to getting some length and some guys with experience on the inside at the safety position, which is always important.
Mark, what are you seeing from the interior linebacker?
Yeah, we feel like we're, again, I don't want to be a broken record. I know everything's positive, but I like the inside linebacking unit's getting better. Alex is a guy second year playing linebacker, and he really played pretty well last year for moving from defensive back to linebacker, and he played really well, and I just like the way he's playing. And we have some good young guys, and Davron, back, who he ended up redshirting last year, but it's good to have him back now with the experience, and some young guys that are really coming.
Mark, what do you think about Willie Rodriguez?
Yeah, Willie's just tough, just a tough guy, good, again, I love everything about Willie. He's one of those guys you want on your team, plays hard, tough guy, has some really good ability. So yes, we'd like to get him the ball. And I know everybody would like to see him get the ball. My mother, God rest her soul, she'll be wants to see him. You know the joke. You guys that cover me all the time. My mom used to get on me about that. Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
off-field staffers don't make the biggest headlines, but Kevin Barbay's been in this league, and then Brad Lambert, coach with Brad, he has years of experience. What do they provide on just like a day-to-day?
Yeah, they're just they're just great additions. Guys with a lot of experience. As you know, things happen quickly now with a lot of turnover. We need a lot of coaching, and these guys have great experience. During the year, we can't get enough help because of just all that there is to do. And then even after the season, things happen quickly. You know what I mean? You want good, reliable people that are here, and Randy Shannon's watching practice with me today, my old coordinator from the Hurricanes back in 2001. It was a pretty decent team. I introduced them to my players this morning. They don't even remember that team. They weren't even born yet, most of them, you know. So,
Okay, folks,
yeah,
that's,
yeah.
we've got our time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mark.